In this video, we're going to start on the Infinite Algebra 1 free worksheets from KutaSoftware. We're going to do the one-step equations, and we're going to do numbers 1 through 14. Our directions for this worksheet is to solve each equation. For number 1, we have 26 is equal to 8 plus v. In order to solve this, we need to isolate this v. And what that means is we need to get that v by itself. Currently, we have that 26 equals the value 8 plus v. But we don't know what v is, and that's what we're solving for. We need to rewrite this in order to say v equals some quantity, or some quantity is equal to v. So we need to get v by itself on one side of the equal sign. In order to do that for number 1, we need to move this 8. You can see that the 8 is added to the v. So in order to remove it, we're simply going to subtract the 8. What that will leave us with is 0 plus v, which we know is simply v. However, if we subtract 8 from one side of the equation, we have to subtract 8 from the other side of the equation. But why is that? You always hear whatever you do to the right, you also have to do to the left, or vice versa. This is because that currently we have this value of 8 plus v, and that is equal to this 26. If we subtract 8 from one of the quantities, if they were equal, we also have to subtract 8 from the other quantity so that they still remain equal. Let me show you why this is making our own equation. We're going to say 5 equals 2 plus 3. If we subtract 2 from one side, we're going to get 0 plus 3. But we know that that's not equal to 5, because that would be 3. But if we subtract 2 from this side as well, since 5 is equal to 2 plus 3, if we remove this 2, we have to remove it from the 5 to get 3. And we know that 3 is equal to 3. So in this instance, we isolated the 3 on the right-hand side, but we need to do the same thing for that variable v. So now that we have a little bit more of an understanding of why when we subtract or add or change something on one side of the equation, we have to do the same to the other, let's go ahead and subtract that 8 from the left side of the equation. 26 minus 8 is going to leave us with 18. So we have that 18 is equal to 0 plus v, so 18 is equal to v. And I find it helpful, especially when you're starting out, to keep your equal sign lined up vertically. Let's go on to number 2. In number 2, our variable is p, so we have to solve for p. 3 is added to p, and that is equal to 8. We need to subtract the 3 to get the p by itself. And whatever we do to the left, we know that we must also do to the right. If we're subtracting 3 from the quantity 3 plus p, which is equal to 8, if we're taking away that 3, we must also take away the 3 from the 8. So when we subtract the 3 from one side, we're left with 0 plus p, and that's equal to, now we subtract the 3 from the other side, 8 minus 3 is 5. 0 plus p is simply p, and that is equal to 5. So our answer for number 2 is 5. Number 3, we're isolating the b, so we have to get the b all by itself. We're going to do that by subtracting 15. Subtract it from the left side of the equation and subtract it from the right side. 15 minus 15 we know is going to be 0, so that's going to leave us with b, and 23 minus 15 is 8. b is equal to 8. Number 4, we have negative 15 plus n is equivalent to negative 9. We're doing the same thing even with negatives. We're subtracting that negative 15 to isolate the n. However, when you subtract a negative, it is the same as adding a positive. So if we subtracted a negative 15, that's really the same as adding 15. And we know that negative 15 plus 15 is 0. So that's going to leave us with n on our left side of the equation. And then if we add 15 to the right, we are going to get negative 9 plus 15, which is equal to 6. So n is equal to 6. And I'll show you a simple way to double check. We know that n is equal to 6, or at least that is the answer we got when we did out our work. So to make sure that our work is sound, we're going to go ahead and take the 6 and plug it back in for the variable n. So we're going to have negative 15 plus 6, and we're going to solve what that's equal for. We need to see if it's equal to this negative 9. Negative 15 plus 6 is indeed a negative 9. So our answer checks out. For number 5, we have m plus 4 is equal to negative 12. We need to isolate the m, so we're going to subtract 4 from both sides, because whatever we do to the left, we do to the right, and vice versa. 4 minus 4 is going to leave us with 0, so we're left with m on the left-hand side, and negative 12 minus 4 is going to be a negative 16. Now for number 6, it switches up our operation. Now we have a variable minus a quantity as opposed to adding a quantity. But we're still isolating this x, trying to get it by itself. So we need to create x plus or x minus the value of 0, because x plus 0 or x minus 0 is just x. In order to remove this 7 from the left or make it into a 0, essentially, we're going to add 7 to both sides. Because if we were to rewrite the left side, we would have x plus a negative 7. And remember, subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So if we add 7 to the left, we're going to add 7 to the right. Negative 7 plus 7 is simply 0. So we're going to have x equal to 20. Number 7, m minus 9 is equal to negative 13. I'm going to start by rewriting this as m plus a negative 9, just so that you can see that that 9 is not positive since we're removing 9 from this value m. So whatever this variable m is equal to, we're removing 9 from it. So it's the same as adding a negative 9. And that is equal to negative 13. So we're going to subtract this negative 9. And subtracting a negative is the same as adding the positive. So adding positive 9 to both sides, we're going to be left with m is equal to negative 13 plus 9, which is equal to negative 4. Number 8, p minus 6 is equal to negative 5. We're going to add 6 to both sides, since you can picture this as adding a negative 6, and subtracting that negative would be adding the positive. So adding 6 will leave us with a 0, so we will have p on the left-hand side, and adding 6 to the right, we will get a value of positive 1. v minus 15 is equal to negative 27. If we add 15, that's going to give us 0, so we have v minus 0, which we know is v, and that's going to be equal is a negative 12. So v is equal to negative 12 for number 9. Number 10, we have n plus 16, so we're isolating this n, and we're going to do that by subtracting 16 from both sides. That will leave us with n is equal to 9 minus 16 is a negative 7. Number 11, as opposed to addition or subtraction, we now have multiplication. However, even though we're changing the operation, we're still isolating this x because we want x by itself in order to find out what that variable x is equivalent to. Now, when we added or subtracted, we needed to have x plus a 0 or x minus a 0, since that was equal to x. When you multiply or divide, you need to have x multiplied by 1 or x divided by 1. So let me go ahead and write that out. So as you see, for addition or subtraction, x plus 0 is equal to x, x minus 0 is equal to x. For multiplication and division, it's a little bit different. X times 1 is equal to x, or x divided by 1 is equal to x. So we need to figure out a way to get this x to be multiplied by 1. Well, if we divide by this 8, 8 divided by 8 is 1. So that's going to leave us with 1 times x, which we know is x. But remember, whatever we do to the right, we also do to the left. So we're going to divide this 104, which is negative, by 8. That's going to give us a negative 13. So x is equal to negative 13, or you can say that negative 13 equals x. Number 12, we're going to divide by 14. 14 divided by 14 is 1, so we're left with 1 times b is equal to negative 56 divided by 14, which is a negative 4. 1 times b is b, and b is equal to negative 4. For number 13, we have negative 6 is equal to b divided by 18. Looking back up at the equations that I wrote, we need to have x times 1 or x divided by 1 in order to have that value x, or in this case, that variable b. So if we multiply the right-hand side by 18 divided by 1, we're taking this denominator and putting it as a numerator over 1, which we know 18 over 1 is really equal to 18. So for this, we're going to have b times 18 over 18 times 1. Remember, multiplication is commutative. So we can write b times 18 over 1 times 18. Well, this is the same as b over 1 times 18 over 18. We know that b divided by 1 is simply b, and we know that 18 divided by 18 is 1. So b times 1 will give us b. And remember, whatever we do to the right side of the equation, we have to do to the left. So we started out by multiplying by positive 18 over 1, which is the same as the whole number 18. So we're going to do 18 times negative 6, which will give us a negative 108. I'm just going to go ahead and bring this down, since negative 108 does not change. So negative 108 is equal to b. And up here you can see that the 18s will cancel each other out to be simply 1, and b times 1, or b divided by 1, is just b. So negative 108 is equal to b. Let's move on to 14, which will be the last problem we do in this video. We're going to isolate the n by dividing by 10. And if you divide by 10 on the left, you divide by 10 on the right. So n is equal to 40 divided by 10, which is 4. Remember to go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and subscribe to my channel. And if you need a more in-depth explanation on solving one-step equations, go ahead and look at my tutorial section on YouTube. Continuing on with the KutaSoftware free worksheet, one-step equations, we're going to do numbers 15 through 30. And this will finish up this worksheet. What we're doing is we're solving each equation. So that means we need to isolate the variable to find out what the variable is equal to. So in number 15, we need to isolate the variable v. We have v divided by 8 is equal to 2. In order to do this, we're going to multiply by a positive 8. You can think of that as multiplying by a positive 8 over 1. The 8s, so 8 divided by 8, is equal to 1, and v divided by 1 is simply v. But remember, whatever we do to the left, we do to the right. So we're also multiplying by a positive 8 over 1, or simply 8 on the right-hand side. So for 15, we have v is equal to 2 times 8, which is 16. And if you need a more in-depth explanation of what I've done in number 15, go to the previous video, and I did out all the work for number 13 to show you how the v becomes isolated if you multiply the denominator's value of 8 over 1. For number 16, we have 16 is equal to k over 11. So we're going to multiply by 11 over 1. So we're multiplying by 11. When we multiply by 11 over 1, we could rewrite this portion as k over 1 times 11 over 11, which we know is k times 1, which is k. So multiplying by 11 leaves us with k on the right, and 11 times 16 is 176. So k is equal to 176. For number 17, we have negative 15 times x is equal to 0. So we're going to divide by that negative 15. Negative 15 divided by negative 15 is 1, so we're going to have 1 times x, and that's equal to, remember, we divided by negative 15 on the left, so we have to do that to the right. 1 times x is equal to 0 divided by negative 15, which is 0. So x is equal to 0. Number 18, again, we're isolating the variable x. We're going to do that by dividing by a negative 17. Whatever we do to the left, we do to the right. So negative 2 under 4 is also going to be divided by a negative 17. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that's going to be 1 times x, which is equal to x. And again, a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that's going to be a positive 12, since 204 divided by 17 is 12. Negative 204 divided by negative 17 is 12. 19, 21 is equal to negative 7n. We're going to divide by negative 7 to both sides. 21 divided by negative 7 is going to be negative 3. Negative 7 divided by negative 7 is simply 1, and that will leave us with negative 3 is equal to n. Number 20, we have m divided by 4 is equal to negative 13. What we need to do is multiply each side by 4, or 4 over 1, if you'd like to think of the whole number in fraction form. So m is going to be equal to negative 13 times 4, which is negative 52. Number 21, negative 126 is equal to 14k. Divide both sides by 14. Negative 126 divided by 14 is negative 9, and that's equal to k. Negative 143 is equal to negative 11x. Divide by a negative 11, and divide by a negative 11. Negative 143 divided by negative 11 is 13. Negative 11 divided by negative 11 is 1. So x is equal to 13. Number 23, negative 16 plus x is equal to negative 15. This one is easy to picture just as it's written. In order to get from negative 16 to a negative 15, we're going to the right on the number line by 1 unit. In order to move to the right on the number line, we're just going to simply add a positive 1. So you can see that x is going to be positive 1. But let's go ahead and do the math. We're going to need to subtract a negative 16, which is the same as adding a positive 16. Whatever we do to the left, we do to the right. That's going to be 0, so x is going to be equal to negative 15 plus 16 is a positive 1. For number 24, negative 5 is equal to a over 18. We're going to multiply both sides by 18. 18 times negative 5 is negative 90. A over 1 is A, so negative 90 is equal to A. Number 25, negative 17 equals x minus 15. We could rewrite this as negative 17 equals x plus a negative 15. So when we subtract that negative, we have to add the positive. So we can add 15 to both sides. Negative 17 plus 15 is a negative 2. That goes to 0, so we're left with x minus 0. So negative 2 is equal to x. 26, we have n minus 8 is equal to negative 10. So we're going to add 8 to both sides and be left with n is equal to negative 2. 27, we have v divided by 7 is equal to 8. We're going to multiply both sides by 7 over 1, which is 7. And that's going to leave us with v over 1, which is v, is equal to 8 times 7, which is 56. So the variable v is equal to 56. Let's go ahead and plug that in to double check. So we're taking this 56 and plugging it in for the value v. That'll leave us with 56 over 7. 56 divided by 7 indeed equals 8. 28, we have a plus 11 is equal to 20. We're going to subtract a positive 11 from both sides. Since 11 minus 11 is 0, that will leave us with a is equal to 9. 29, we have negative 7 plus m is equal to 8. We're going to add 7, since subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. That'll leave us with 0 plus m, which is m, and 8 plus 7 is 15. So m is equal to 15. And the last problem on this worksheet, number 30, 18 plus m equals 8. We're going to subtract 18 from both sides, and that's going to leave us with m on the left-hand side and a negative 10 on the right. So m is equal to negative 10. Go ahead and click the thumbs up on this video and subscribe to my channel. Feel free to go through my tutorials if you need more information on solving one-step equations. Also, if you have any specific problem or questions, please feel free to comment below.